It was it's one of those funny memories, And just I turned the stove on and knew I was going to be wrong. I was like, let me call Mom first. So hold up. It's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm cooking macaroni and cheese. She's like, well, don't light the fire. I was like, oh, well, it's kind of late.
All right, Gordon, we're not going to have an intro bed for you, but
that's fine.
Just whenever you are ready, I can hit the button.
Yeah, this signal or something.
You ready?
Yep. Welcome back, everyone, to Rules of the Arena Podcast, episode 48. We are back at the Blind Ninja Studios, Studio B. Joining me tonight is super producer Casey.
Hey, I'm here.
And Ben is still missing. We haven't quite found him yet. We had the search parties and posters out.
Is that the whole dementia thing?
Yeah, he went off his pills for COVID.
Grandpa Ben.
Hopefully he will be back with us soon. More importantly, joining us via Zoom meetings is the great barbecue food truck owner. Well, I suppose more pop-up. You haven't gotten the food truck yet. So
yeah, I haven't gotten the truck yet, yeah.
All the way from Racine, Wisconsin is Chef Emerson Holiday. Thank you. So would it be chef or would it be pitmaster, or is it hyphenated?
I go chef.
All right.
Like I said, until I really get like a brick and mortar and an official pit, I'll just say chef for now.
Well, thanks, Chef, for taking the time to chat with us. Would you just mind introducing yourself for the folks listening?
Once again, my name is Emerson Holiday. I'm from Racine, Wisconsin. I am chef and pitmaster of Dragon Pit BBQ. And I'm just here. Just hanging out with these guys today.
And you didn't have to club them over the head and drag them down the studio?
I will say, Gordon, like, the one complaint I have tonight is we have a chef and you didn't make it so I could eat some food.
I tried.
You tried. You did try. It was a long weekend. I thought about it, believe me. maybe in the summertime, it's a little warmer, then I wouldn't mind heading up north.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you grow up in Wisconsin, or where are you from?
I grew up most of my life in Wisconsin. I was born in Michigan. My parents moved us to California when we were super young. I lived in Cucamonga in the LA area until I was about 7 or 8. Then I moved here to Wisconsin. My folks got divorced, and my mom was like, we're just going as far away from everybody as we can. So she packed us up and brought us to Wisconsin.
There's like other states that don't have snow and cold, though.
I think she just did it as a strategic move. She was going to lock down. I was going to take care of my boys and work.
So then how did you kind of discover your passion or love for cooking then?
I pretty much always loved cooking. I grew up, like I said, my mom worked a lot, so we were definitely at home after school, messing around, cooking a little bit here and there. And I think that once I got into like middle school, we started to take like home ec class. If anybody knows what that is. I don't know if they even call that anymore. That might even be appropriate.
I remember failing that class.
How did you fail home ec?
I don't know, yeah. But then, it was like, I was cooking in the class, and they were like, oh, you kind of know what you're doing already. And I was kind of messing around at home, and, just kind of, when I learned when I was tall enough to really touch the stove, I started making noodles and just watching my mom do it so many times. And it was pretty, I don't know, I always cooked since I was young.
So you grew up around, your mom cooking in front of you?
Yeah, my mom cooked a lot. She'll tell you she wasn't like the best cook. I think she kind of just cooked to feed mouths, So we always, sometimes we'd have parties and something, she'd make a big pot of spaghetti or something like that, I'm sure it wasn't a big deal to her, but it was just like the best thing to me and my friends, My grandmothers did cook a lot. They were probably more, big family meals, things like that. I definitely watched my grandmothers in the kitchen just cooking away and, just talking to people and just kind of sitting, and I just like always ended up in the kitchen somehow because, we were in Wisconsin, so we didn't grow up around our family a lot, so I was always kind of the outsider, which my family loves me. Let me say, like, I wasn't like a misfit or anything like that, but grandmas just always show love, so we would end up in the kitchen just watching them, talking, they're always asking me questions like, where is Wisconsin? what are you guys doing up there? And all that kind of stuff, They're like, like, is it cold? Do you guys like cheese? They're like, yeah, we do,
Well, cheese is one of the major food groups.
Yeah, that's
extra
like
broth in the pyramid.
Yeah, that's about it. You guys eat cheese? They're like, who doesn't like cheese over here? Like it's like everybody likes cheese, but nonetheless, just growing up, and I don't know. Yeah, I just watching them cook all the time.
Did you ever get a chance to help out around the kitchen, or were you like me and I was just told to go sit in the other room because I went to Central?
I don't think that I wasn't cooking, like chopping stuff. Definitely, it was one particular moment I always have with my grandma from Louisiana on my mom's side. I think she ran out of meat or something like that for like a breakfast. She would usually probably have sausage or bacon, and we were kind of rummaging through the freezer, and I don't know, just naive. Was like, here, just cook those. You know, that was like meat. Mom, you know, grandma, what's the difference? You know, and she was like, those are gizzards. You know, and I was like, so, you know, I don't know if anybody knows what gizzards are, but they're the innards. You know, they're the, you know. But she was like, would you want to eat those? And I was like, yeah. And I think she kind of gave me that smirk, like, oh, okay, let's see if you really like this, you know. So she was like, well, I can make some dirty rice. And I just remember like hearing that word, like dirty rice. It's just like, you know, it's a Southern thing, you know, and it's like, let's do it, Grandma, whatever, you know, because I think it was just me and her. I don't even know where everybody else was. They were probably in the other room just having a million conversations at one time. And, you know, our family do. So where it's like, yeah, let's just do it. So I remember just making this dirty rice, and I was just eating the hell out of it, you know, and a cousin kind of came in like, what are you eating, you know, and my grandma was like, dirty rice, and they kind of looked at each other, you know, I'm from Wisconsin, you know, they're like, hey, this boy doesn't know anything about it, but I just remember just eating it and just enjoying it, and like relishing in the naivety of it, you know, like I knew I probably wasn't supposed to like it, because I'm a kid or whatever, but I was like brave enough to do it, so it just kind of made me like that much cooler per se, you know, like realizing myself and my grandma, I was like, yeah, grandma likes it, you know, it's okay, you know, but you know.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a brave person when it comes to food. If you tell me what it is, I probably wouldn't. If you know, like gizzard, like no, I'm out.
Yeah.
But I tried Rocky Mountain oysters for the first time because somebody just handed it to me and it looked like, you know, almost like a cheese curd. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Oh, you dip it in marinara sauce. This is even better. And then somebody's like, oh yeah, that's elk testicle. I'm like, oh, all right.
Turns out I like that
now.
Yeah. Everything's safe if you fried it though marinara, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they seared them on a grill and then deep fried them in a beer batter, and then the marinara sauce. That was good.
Yeah. I guess there's a good way to a bad way to cook everything.
Right.
Turns out frying it works.
So when did you start cooking on your own then?
Actually, later in life, after high school, I was like a music major, so I kind of was studying music, and I always just loved arts per se, you know, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just started working with just retail jobs, retail management, doing stuff like that. I was always cooking at home, but then I think a customer of mine, I might have been at Starbucks. And his customer was like, you know, we love you here. You know, you're great at what you do, your customer service, but like, you know, you're not a coffee guy. You're like, what do you want to do? You know, it's kind of like one of those entrepreneur light bulb situations where you're like, oh, yeah, what do I want to do? You know, and he's like, well, you're always talking about food. You're always watching Food Network, or always doing something like, do you like, you know, why don't you think about cooking? And then I guess I never thought of it as a career, because most of the people most of the restaurants in a small town, they're like family owned. You know, so either you're like, you know, you're a cousin, or you're married into it, or you're kind of a dishwasher, young kid kind of just going into it. I was probably like 25, I think, you know, kind of, you know, getting a better salary than a dishwasher at that per se, you know, but so anytime I did want to go into a restaurant, they're like, oh, well, we can start you off here. I'm like, well, I'm a manager, like I can, you know, like whatever. And they're like, no, we don't, you know, they didn't trust me without the experience per se. So I would say a friend of mine opened a restaurant down in Springfield, Illinois, and he needed a kitchen manager, and he always knew that we were kind of talking about it. Big up to Neil and Donnie's crew. And I just jumped the opportunity. Luckily, my wife at the time, she was ready to roll with us, and we moved down to Springfield. I just started cooking and never looked back, you know.
Did you start experimenting with recipes, or were you just kind of by the book in your early days? I followed recipes at the beginning. I think once my mom kind of realized I like cooking,
She got me a couple cookbooks. You know, I was like making cookies, and you know, like I always loved Mrs. Fields cookies, but they were so expensive. My mom was like, "Well, here, why don't you learn how to make them?" You know, I'm like, "Yes, challenge accepted." You know, like chocolate macadamias, or you know, especially of mine as a kid. You know, but then you don't really think of it as cooking. You know, definitely didn't think of it as baking. You know, like if I had to do the two now, cooking versus baking, that whole ordeal, but. Back then, I didn't think about it. So yeah, I was just following recipes, making lasagnas, things like that. I say once I kind of got into my, you know, mid-20s and you know, started watching like I said food shows and Food Network. There's a lot of food, just the food craze itself was just kind of popping off. So there's a lot more information available, a lot more visual things to look at. You know, YouTube, which is popular. You can find any kind of recipe on YouTube now, and so then I just started kind of adapting to say, oh, I want to kind of make this, or I want to kind of make that, or like, you know, once you kind of start cooking, people start asking, oh, what do you like to cook? You know, so that's always like the question. So you had to figure out, oh, what do I like to cook? You know, that kind of breaks you down, like, well, who am I? You know, what do I like to cook? And then, you know, where am I from? Who am I? You know, just like these, you start kind of asking yourself these different questions when you break down, you know, the why behind, I guess, any kind of entrepreneurship. You know, I always say that, like, what is the why? You know, like, what is the why behind anything? What do you do? What is the why? You know, so you know, so yeah, so I just think I just started just messing around, and once I started, you know, got into a management position at the pizza place, just following the recipes. I got hooked up with the governor's mansion, just met some really good chefs there. And then,
yeah, how do you go from pizza restaurant to catering at the governor's mansion? That seems like a big lane change there.
Yeah, well, you know, the restaurants was always those guys who were like this big homies with the kitchen industry, you know. So we had a good friend of ours named Kevin. He just loved the pizza. I think I made a jerk pizza and with some mangoes and habaneros and some, you know, grilled chicken. It was just, it's really good. You know, the guy was just like, he came back and said, who the hell made this pizza? You know, like, where are you guys from? You know, because we weren't really from the area. It was a whole new place, you know. And I was like, how do you get my friend Mike down here? You know, Mike Lance, he was the head chef at the governor's mansion. Diners was kind of like a hippie-ish place. Like there was a concert venue, a lot of jam bands, you know, so people just like very friendly, open. You know, the same thing with like the cooking community. They're just like, yeah, I'm gonna tell my friend to come check you out. You know, and it's like, you know, so people are like, who is this guy? What's going on? Who's making this good pizza? And you know, it's kind of chit chat. And I was like, hey man, I'm always looking for something. I'm just, you know, at my age, you know, I need more experience. So the more kitchens I work in, please just give me a shot. You know, so a couple months went by, and finally he needed some help because we're getting into the season. He just invited me in and. Started working on fine dining, doing catering. Funny story about him, the first time I walked into the kitchen, he tossed a raw egg at me. He was like, here, catch. You know, like right as I walked in the door, and I caught it, and he was like, good, if you would have dropped it, I just would have told you to get out. You know?
One hell of an interview.
Yeah, so that was kind of my introduction to like the kitchen industry. You know, it's just kind of like a bunch of, you know, rowdy people, you know, and I did, so you know, once I worked with him, I got to another chef at a country club, and then there was a bunch of young and just innovative chefs, and all they were doing was just reading cookbooks and like just pushing the envelope of like new food. And you know, they always say like, look at a recipe, but don't ever like follow it. You know, make it your own. You know, because we all kind of do. You know, eventually once you kind of like, I like more salt, I like more heat, I like more of this. I mean, essentially you're creating your own recipe. You know, you just make sure you just write it down. You know, just make sure you write it down. So you can follow it or just make it better.
Which my grandma on my dad's side never did, much to his chagrin, because my dad's one of the best cooks I know, better than a lot of restaurants I've gone to.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, it's okay. It's not as good as how my mom made them. Like, this is pretty damn good.
Right. Yeah, you know, there's always that memory thing too, where like, you know, once you got it, and you know, sometimes it's, yeah, I don't know, when, you know, you say stuff like that's never good as mom, but yeah, because that memory's there. You know, It's always. I can go to some shitty restaurant and just if I had a good time there, and I just be like, the food is great. You know, but it wouldn't be like good. It was just that moment, you know, just like you take yourself there, you know. But
that sets memory.
Yeah.
So going from, you know, the governor's mansion catering and the country club, what drew you into the realm of barbecue? Because I know that can be contentious, cutthroat kind of underground scene that I found out in the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, it is. I think maybe just the lack of barbecue in this area kind of just led me to do my own kind of barbecue. My grandfather in Compton, when we were younger, he built a smoker. It's like a brick oven per se at this point, but it was like, it was a brick grill, and he was just so proud of it, and it's just like this thing, you're like, oh, what is barbecue? I was probably like 8 or 9, I don't even know, maybe even younger, Just remember him just like staring at the grill, like, yeah, I built that. So he was, he was a proud, black man in Compton. He owned his house and he was building and fixing it up, and he just like, at the grill in the backyard was like the icing on the cake, you got, you're like, yes, like, my king, So, I remember him just making, I'm sure he made ribs, but we were just smacking on some barbecue. We left. I came back maybe like 2 weeks later. I was like, Granddad, I want what you made last week or whatever. And he was like, what was it? And they were like, ribs, I think. And I was like, I don't know. Another one of the situations, like, I don't know what it is, but I want it, and he wasn't ready to really cook them at that time. And I think he was even debating, like, oh, well, it takes a long time to make the ribs. I was a kid. I just wanted immediate gratification. I'm thinking he could just turn the fire on and pull them out, And he was like, well, we got to go with the ribs, I got to get charcoal. And he was kind of debating, and he kind of looked at me, he kind of saw my eyes, and I was just like, crying, these big puppy dog eyes, like, yeah, what else do we need to do? Let's do it, like, what else? It's not that big of a deal, right? So he was like, well, let's just go for a road trip, So I was just giddy at this point, so I'm rolling around with Granddad, I think he had this big maroon Lincoln, like Mark V, or something like that, some just beautiful pimp ride, we're just cruising down LA, along Long Beach area, and just going to get ribs and just different things, and it became this whole ordeal. Like I just kind of hung out with my granddad, just to cook these ribs, and that's just that you just get that passion, that memory's always there. So I was kind of like, okay, now it's ribs, barbecue is, let's do it, especially just cooking outside. You don't want to be inside on a hot day, so
or outside on a cold one in Wisconsin.
Right. Well, if we're gonna be outside, make it a big fire. Make it a big fire.
Casey thought it'd be a good idea. He was homebrewing beer. Was it last year or 2 winters ago?
No, it was 2 winters ago. 20 below.
No, thank you.
No, never again.
Some days like a Super Bowl, like an opening day. So like, I've done cooking for opening day. That's another thing too, like just helping friends out, just doing the cooking where I just didn't mind doing it. So a lot of times with like my roommate, when I was, we're just kind of like, I'll make the noodles, I'll cook, it's not a big deal to me, I don't mind doing it, and you kind of, like, so that, I think that's kind of one of the first times I realized I was kind of good at cooking, just cooking for other people, just volunteering, because I didn't mind it for one, and then other people just couldn't do it, they just couldn't wrap their head around it, like the fire and water and timing, and it's just like, is it really that big of a deal? But it is, it's just, you think about it, but yeah, so just doing, one day, I don't remember one opening day, it was just balls cold, like it was probably maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and I brought a couple of friends of mine from Springfield, if people from Southern Illinois, it's like, probably 50 degrees warmer there, and I don't give at any given time, definitely doesn't freeze at all. So it's like, but they think we're in Midwest, we're in Illinois, it's cold, like we're going to Wisconsin, bro, like it's cold, I was like, bring a coat, a real coat, okay, not a jacket, not a sweatshirt, like a coat, okay, like it's gonna be cold.
Oh, especially down by Lake Michigan, the wind.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah, exactly. I was like, dude, that wind's gonna come off that lake, it's gonna eat you alive. You have no idea, I'm trying to warn them. Sure enough, we get out here, he's got this thin little windbreaker. He's a younger guy, but that too. He's like my adopted son in the kitchen. I always claim some young kids when I'm at that, every kitchen I'm at. I'm like, you're my adopted son today. So I always call him, so he always called me dad. But nonetheless, I was like, man, you got the little hole in your jeans, bro. You're gonna be so cold. And it was just, like I said, it was just freezing. We're like, you couldn't even drink the beers because the beers were too cold. You're trying to, it was all huddled around the grill, just the rubber, like a bunch of hobos. She's like, okay, we're just going to stay here and tough it out,
That's the true origin of the brand old fashioned. It was the only thing that wasn't frozen. Basically, yeah. But yeah, you just do different things, man. And
I think that's like this, like I said, it's the love for it. You're just cooking for people and they appreciate it in all these random places. You know.
And just to back it up, I imagine your grandpa didn't just pop on YouTube and Google or how to build a smoker. He did that. Did he do it all himself, or did?
I mean, yeah, he did it himself. But like I said, it's basic, it's brick and mortar. I think he just kind of built a box, put some grates on it, and had probably like a tinfoil lid. It wasn't anything crazy fancy. But I mean, that's your basic smokers. I mean, old days, they're just cinder blocks or something in the backyard. They had some kind of metal grate to go over the fire, and they would just do it. They would just, or just some kind of open pit. What is it that the Salt Lick, I think it is, down in Austin. You always see pictures of that open pit grill, which is a big brick wall. There's a big fire in the middle, and it's just like random things hanging all over the edge. Like we've really gotten modern day where we actually got the the offset smokers and these pellet grills, but everything was really just either a hole in the dirt or some kind of cinder block. Right. I mean, and my dad's side was from Texas, so I always kind of had epiphany, and a thing for like, I always had barbecue. That's like a Texas thing, so I always had that pride in me. Like, okay, I do need to, I'm from Texas, that's what they do. I should be able to, barbecue, and but yeah, that's some of those bigger things where they're throwing a whole half a hog or half a cow. Actually, Texas doing cows. You're throwing half a steer, but big ass, big pit, kind of like they do pigs in Hawaii. But yeah, it's just you just gotta dig a hole and start a fire. So that's basically what barbecue is.
So you mentioned Texas. So do you have an affinity for Texas style barbecue versus like Carolina style or Kansas City style?
For my brisket, yeah, for brisket, it's Texas all day. I do the salt and pepper. They don't pepper around with it too much. I do like a little bit smokier side of it, so I may go with a little more like a hickory, and a little cherry instead of the standard oak. I think a lot of places in Texas use oak. But as far as flavoring the brisket, I keep it simple, just salt, pepper, and smoke.
So Casey, I just cleared my schedule for next week. Do you want to go down there?
Actually, no, we have Renfest next week.
Sorry, guys. It's plenty of barbecue. I say wait till spring. I say Racine is a great city right on the lake, small little town, but just wait till spring.
Well, I have family down in the Milwaukee area, so I'm, it's not my favorite time to go down there in the winter.
No, the lake's a beast out here. The wind coming off of it is a whole different realm.
So going back, you said you're studying music in high school. Did you go to school for music, or what did you originally plan on going into?
I did. Yeah, I did go to Parkside for music. I was just music and general studies. I was producing. Kind of everybody rapped it that day. We were kind of singing. Like singing and rapping, and I was producing songs. But I don't think we didn't have a program for like music production per se. So I was just going to school to sing, and so I was like, I'm not going to do this. So I just started working. And as I said, just worked in dead-end jobs so I could figure out what I really wanted to do. Because at that point, if I was producing, just doing stuff on my own. At that point, I was throwing parties, and then I started DJing, and I just kind of winging it that way, just making money, a little side money, and just entertaining friends, and we're just kind of having fun. Your mid-20s, just hanging out and doing it, and so yeah, I went to school for that, and I think once I read a book where it's just like, take the 5 things you really love to do and make that your career, and I think it's like, don't sweat the small stuff, make money. I don't know, I'm not pretty sure. They had those series of books for a while. Those books were everywhere, like this, don't sweat the small stuff, don't, whatever. Chicken soup, it's like chicken soup for the soul. It was like a thing. It was like everything. It was like, it's like self-help for dummies type stuff. And
I just circumvented the books and went straight to the bar. And
you just ate the chicken soup.
They're quick reads, and I was done with you that. I think it was kind of okay. Well, I'm doing music, like what else do I want to do, and so I was just doing retail. And I think that's when I just kind of started cooking. Like, okay, well, I got the music, but I could always fall back on DJing, but with a schedule from you DJing, it was like Friday, Saturday nights. Those are your busiest nights for restaurants too. So I couldn't really, it wasn't feasible for me to stop making, not making $1,000 or whatever for a wedding on a Saturday to go get my ass kicked in the kitchen on a Saturday. It's like, you do the math,
Right.
So, but I think once I started hitting 30, I was like, okay, what I really want to do a career out of. So I was like, okay, I can always go back to DJing. Let me get this cooking. Let's just really start focusing on, like I said, this recipes. And when I was in Springfield and working in the country club with those guys, I started out in pantry, which is like the lowest, not the lowest level, but you're kind of like just doing salads, some desserts. It does get busy, but it's not necessarily like the expensive items, So you just that's where they kind of start people at. So to see, test your time management, test your knife skills. Can you cut carrots? Can you cut salad? Can you, do you, whatever, can you cut fruit? Are you gonna like cut your hand? Whatever, can you get used to getting yelled at without like,
you get blood on the steaks. Well, that's why you just cook it longer.
They're not gonna let anybody jump on the steak station. And usually if someone's on the grill, they're like angry and they've been there for years. They don't go over there anyway. Because it's a hot place, and then you're gonna get burned. It's hot. You don't go over and play around with the grill. Especially inside of a busy restaurant.
So what? So you said pantry. Is that, I guess, department, for lack of better words? What's your next step up from there?
So there, I guess so once you're kind of there, I guess you would kind of decide what you want to do. So you kind of have your saute station where they're doing like more delicate things, your pastas, your fishes. You have your grill station where they're doing the big steaks, meats. You kind of get into your carving. So saute, they would do most of the fish. So if you want to kind of learn how to cut fish, your salmons, more delicate vegetables, things like that, cooking on top of the stove, that's where you would kind of go with that. If you're kind of, you want to do more butchering, you want to learn how to cut, excuse me, here, some ribeyes or something like that, then you go to your grill station. Middle guy is kind of like your expo. Sometimes they're kind of like the line lead, or sometimes they're just somebody who's just catching plates. But it really depends on the situation and what kind of goes out. For me, I would end up going to the middle line, and I was kind of like, at that point, you're kind of managing people, managing times, so I kind of just transferred my retail management into that situation. I'm talking to people, communicating, trying to skip the line down, per se, But like I said, some person you're just a kid. You're just like, okay, I'm putting it on a plate. You're just listening to the saute guy or the grill guy. Sometimes a lot of this, it depends on the restaurant which one is just more important, I guess. But a lot of times people just end up going there because somebody didn't show up. If that's the saute guy just doesn't show up one day and you're in the pantry and they're just like, hey, slide over, and you're just like, okay, then hey, you're a saute guy. The dishwasher the same way. You did wash the dishes one day, and then all of a sudden the grill guy, he gets bogged down. Like a lot of times the grill guy and the fry guy are the same type of situation. And I was like, hey, I need somebody to come over here and drop fries. And so you're dishing, you're over there, and you're by the grill guy. You're just watching, you're paying attention, and as long as you're not getting in the way, they're going to show you something, and then you become a grill guy. It's just you kind of fall into place. I think, with my, I've always been kind of like middle sous chef, kind of, more management, just because I had less experience cooking, but I had more experience managing people. So that's another reason why I wanted to get into cooking, wanted to work my way up, because I know I liked it, and I wanted that respect. I wanted to know every aspect of the kitchen. I always kind of knew I wanted to do my own thing. Eventually have my own restaurant or pop up, something. You always want to, everybody wants to have something for their own. But I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be like these kids who come out of school and just think, hey, I'm gonna open up a restaurant. I wanted to be able to have these experiences and be able to handle things and know what I was really getting into. That's just kind of how I am, I like to study and just like really get in depth with something before I just jump into to do it, But So I just did that for a minute. Ended up coming back to Racine. I worked my way up from pantry, through the line, and then once you get past the line, you get to like sous chef or like chef de cuisine. Maybe you're just doing specials. That's what they do. Or you're like your sous chef, you're kind of right underneath the head chef. And there's different levels of that. You have executive sous chef. You have, whatever. Sometimes some people are just learning. You're just doing all book work. Although you're a chef, you're just really just handling, ordering. Just whatever. Because you just someone has to do it. So I kind of worked my way up to that, up to head chef, and then and then you kind of just figure it out after that. Once you get to head chef, you either do it to work for somebody else or you have your own restaurant. And it kind of depends on what you want to do.
When did you start to think that I want to make a career out of this? I mean, as much fun as retail management can be, I was in that realm, still am in that realm, unfortunately. But
no, and like I said, I think in my head, I liked it. You know what I mean? Like it was a job. Like I said, Starbucks was great. They had great benefits. It was easy hours. I got to see a lot of people. I was super social. With my DJing, it was great because I would see a fluctuation of people all coming and going. It was good. And then, like I said, I had that one customer was just like, "What are you doing here?" And I think I laughed it off because it's kind of like I just kind of whatever. But then like it really stuck with me like that. You build these relationships with these people, and he or she, I can't remember what it was, but they actually cared enough to say, "Hey, like this isn't your life. Like you're good here, but obviously you have a brighter light that you need to be doing. You're not into coffee." And I just like when they kind of stuck with like, "Oh, I'm into coffee." It wasn't like I didn't like the job per se, but it just wasn't my field. I could sell anything, really if I wanted to. So then I was like, "Oh, yeah, maybe I should start, look into cooking. Let me just do it." And I don't know. I just kind of just jumped into it. I was my friend was like, "Hey, do you want to manage my kitchen? Do you want to do it so bad?" I'm sure I was dirt cheap too. So I'm just like, "Yes, I'll do it." In his head, he's like, "Oh, if I have to hire a head chef, I can't pay this guy $12 an hour." I was like, "But I'll do it. I don't care. Like just let me do it." And then so I just started just working. It was the same thing as working for somebody. I moved back to Racine. I was head chef at Vero.
Was it a job offer that brought you back, or did you come back for family?
It was a little bit of both. Well, at the country club I was at, I was sous chef. My head chefs they just up and quit. They kind of had a disgruntled with the management, and they quit. I was really good with the general manager of the country club, and he was like, "Well, right now we're like right in the beginning of summer too. It was like right in the beginning of our busiest season. There was no way you could really hire somebody and like ride through it. But I had been there a few years already, so I already knew the game. So I was going to do it. So I was like, "Hey, I'll run it. I can do it." In my head, I'm thinking, yes, I'm trying myself to become head chef. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I'm gonna do it. Crushed it all summer. Kitchen retention too. Thank God the crew stayed with me. Which says a lot about just character. And I applaud those guys forever because they didn't have to. They were like, "Yeah, no, I don't trust you. You're not even from here. You know what I mean? Like whatever. So, but they stayed, and they're a bunch of great guys. I still talk to all the guys, to this day. But we rocked it all summer. We put in a lot of good hours, and then like once everything was done, they hired somebody else. And I was kind of like, okay. This is not my restaurant. I didn't take it personal, but like, okay, this is not my restaurant. This is not my place.
That's gonna sting, though.
It stung. It hurt. But then, I started really looking for jobs. And then I saw an ad for an African Caribbean restaurant in Racine. I was like, "Oh, I'm from Racine." I was like, "That's right up my alley." Is really, that's real. And I had the interview, sat down. And they were like, "Yeah, we really want you to come back if you need a head chef, and your qualifications are great." And I was like, "All right, well, I'll move back," because at this point, the restaurant I was originally working for, they had closed down, and we didn't have any family there, so we were just working. We had friends, but we didn't have so we didn't have any family, any kind of real ties there. My wife's family, her family's here in Wisconsin, so we're like, "Well, let's go back." Everybody's kind of getting older. It's just, we're driving back every other week or, whatever anyway, just to visit friends. So like, just move back now that we have the job. So we came back, and just, and then, so just once I was there, I was there for about a good year. And then they were paying me way too much, I'll admit it, for Racine, and I mean, I applaud them, but I was kind of like, I should probably start looking for somewhere else to go, because I think, the duty as, just be a good human being. Obviously, don't force somebody to pay you. Like, don't be a dick and just show up to work and be like, hey, just give me money, because everybody's, a lot of restaurant owners they're not even getting paid. They're paying the employees, and there are misconceptions that they're all rich and they're all doing this, but most of them are just reinvesting it into the business, or it's just going straight to bills. No one's really getting rich. So I left there and just started. I was sous chef at a couple of restaurants in Milwaukee, and they were busy. They were crazy busy. That was like my real introduction to like a real restaurant, because the country club and the governor's mansion, you're like whatever, it's not as busy, but it's not. It's not standard public, everybody can just, you're dealing with 200 or 300 people every day, I worked at Blue's Egg in Milwaukee, and breakfast is crazy. I was a DJ. I would get up to like 11, 12 o'clock. Breakfast was like, was a foreign thing to me. I was like, no, I can't be that busy. Who eats breakfast? It was like, but the brunch craze is crazy. It's insane how many people come out for brunch. So, but, nonetheless, we're just rocking out like 300, 400 people a day, it's just insane. But you're just learning your chops, just doing it. And then I was working in Racine at another place, and then that's when COVID kind of stuck. And then the restaurant shut down. It was closed, it was shut down. I always say that, but really, COVID shut everything down. They had to close their doors for whatever. And then when they did open, it was like 5 guys trying to fight for enough work for one. So in the same sense, like, okay, what can I do? I can't just show up and be like, hey, I need to get paid. So I just started doing pop-ups with another friend of mine. He was already doing them. And Sap, big up to Alex and Sap crew. He needed help because he was getting busy, and he needed people who actually knew how to work the line. So then I jumped in, helping him out, and he just kind of like, same thing, Emerson, why aren't you doing it? What are you doing? Because he was doing it every other week, and there was a week available, and I was kind of looking for something, so I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it, So I started barbecuing. I had like two large, like 2 circular rubber grills, and for the first week it was okay. And then, like, the second we got busy, and I was trying to do, like, 8 or 9 pork butts on these little rubbers, and I was kind of in the back doing something, and all of a sudden I just heard this terrible fall, this noise. I was like, that wasn't great, and I go out there, and the grills are just on the ground, like, they just collapsed with the weight. It was just too much. So I was like, okay, I need to get myself a real smoker, So then I got my unemployment money. Got that little chunk, thanks Trump, don't quote me on that. But, I got the little COVID money, and so first thing I did was I bought a big trailer, a big smoker, like a big, 22-gallon offset smoker to do real barbecuing, and so so I've only actually had my pit for about 4 or 5 months now, so that's why I'm like, don't call me a pit master yet. I'm just touching this thing, let alone work some of these big rigs, and but I said it's a beast though. It does put out a lot of food, and so now I'm just kind of venturing into the barbecue world. Like I said, I've always loved it, but now it's like it's a whole different realm.
Well, I mean, starting your own business on a good year is stressful as is. I mean, let alone opening, coming here. Well, I suppose we're still smack dab in the middle of COVID-19. I mean, did you have any concerns, or did your friends or family be like, what the hell are you doing?
I don't even think I realized I was starting a business, if it makes sense, because like I said, I was just kind of cooking. That's just what I did. And I was like, well, I was selling, I was selling plates, stuff out the house, just for friends and family, just because I was just cooking things that I like to cook, and people were just kind of buying them anyway. So it was kind of like that same concept, like, well, I just got to cook some food for people. And, a lot of people are stuck at home. If they can't cook, they're looking for food. Restaurants weren't open. Yeah, it's just, something, I think I was kind of dropping off some food to some of my friends' parents who, couldn't get out. And it was like, I don't know, you're just kind of doing it. And then, I had a Dragon Pit BBQ concept because I was selling spices. From the kitchens, I was just developing recipes, just writing them down. And I kind of always had this bucket list thing of like, I'm gonna get rich selling sauces, but never did it. Everyone has that $1 million idea, So I was like, I'm always gonna do it, and I just didn't do it. I think my father got sick. He had diabetes really bad, so then that bucket list thing kind of became more real to me, I was like, okay, if I don't do it now, then when am I going to do it? So then I just, bottled it, sent it down to Penzi Spices in Chicago, local spice merchant, and they just whipped it up for me, and it was that easy, it's just like, oh, damn, all this time we're thinking it's going to be this hard thing, and, it's just kind of once you put your mind to go do it, everything just starts to fall into place, so with that, I was like, okay, so I just had the barbecue idea, and I was kind of selling spices, just like I said, if it doesn't work, at the end of the day, I have Christmas presents, everyone loves spices for Christmas, you know what I mean, like, you're doing it anyway, so then I always had that, and then once I was trying to push it, I was like, well, I show people how to use the spices per se, so I started kind of selling barbecue, like, okay, this is, my Big M's Paradise powder. It's like a nice smoky, typical kind of barbecue. But it's great on pork, and working at the country clubs, we had barbecue nights, so I was always just making batches of this stuff. So I just knew it was just great overall spice. And once I just kind of started doing that, like I said, the need was just there. And also, people I love barbecue. I'll buy some if you sell it. And I was like, okay, I guess I should sell it then. So then I had to, so I was like, okay, yeah, Dragon Pit BBQ, I just, kind of, just my thing, and then I had an interview, a guy from the local paper interviewed me for COVID businesses, in the midst of COVID-19, it must have been a story that people were just doing because it got picked up by Associated Press, and then it circulated all over the country. But then I got picked up by Good Morning America.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it was crazy because I was literally only 3 weeks into this. I got a call for Good Morning America. And I was like, no fucking way. This is, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, she was like, what are we on Good Morning America? And I was like, whatever, this is the truth. So I called her, she's like, yeah. I looked her up on Facebook, I was like, oh shit, yeah, in DC, holy shit, this is the real situation. And she was like, yeah, it was like, I think it was like Saturday night. She called, she was like, if I get an interview Sunday, you'll be on there Tuesday. And I was like, what? That's just really fast turnaround, right? Yeah, even after doing the interview, and it was like, but she basically asked me the same question that he had asked me about, like, what are chefs doing right now, amidst restaurants, are people cooking from home, people are doing meal prep, it was kind of, so I think it must have been like a story that was like hot right now. So then once that aired, then it was just no turning back after that, because people are just coming, and I'm like, oh, this is the business. This is real deal. I can make money at this, or, this is like what I want to do, so it wasn't even something like I was, I've always wanted to have my own thing, and, working, you always tell yourself, oh, I'm too busy to work. I'm too busy to do this. If I only had the money, if I only had the time, and, I'm always telling other people that, like, I'll just do it, just do it, just do it, like, just, don't talk about it, be about it, and here I am doing the same thing myself. It's always easy to give other people advice about their life, Right.
Well, it sounds like media kind of just took away your choice in the matter. You just had to do it.
Right, exactly. I was like, well, okay, so it's just, I kind of was on this, like, just say yes mission, this whole year. I just like, get out of my way, I was doing a lot of self-reflection over the year, like, once COVID hit and everything locked down, my wife and I actually had split up at that time, and so I was just kind of just I would say by myself, but just really just hammering it down, trying to figure out who I was and what I needed to do. And I realized, there's a lot of mental blocks that we put on ourselves. Those little dumb voices in our head that just tell us no, or just don't do this, or well, if you do this might happen, or blah blah blah. And so you just have all this negative self-talk, and so I told myself, like, just get out of your way, Emerson. Like, from here on, that's this whole year, because everything's shut down. It's just, what can we do? Just do something. Just don't be so fucking negative. Just stop with the stop talk. So if you ever see my post, I was like, best me 2020 is my thing. Like, I just want to give the best person I can, and just tell myself, just get out of the way. Just Emerson, shut up and get out of the way. And so this whole barbecue thing is the same situation. Like, shut up and just do it. Because of course I could have been like, no, we're starting to hold him back again. I'm gonna go back, do whatever I want to, be out of yay. But I was like, no, let's just do it. Let's just do it and just roll with it. And just don't be afraid to fail. I mean, the worst thing you can do is, like I say, you can fail, but it's not gonna matter. You can always go back to doing your normal thing, if you wanted to. So we're still just kind of, I'm still just kind of catching, just catching the world by the tail. Just holding on to be alive. So now doing interviews and I'm talking to kids, and just things, and it's interesting. I'm discovering a lot about myself still in the process of just talking to you guys about it, about what I'm doing, because I'm still trying to figure it out. But I feel like that's how everybody is. Everybody's right now is just trying to figure out what the hell. We're all just trying to survive and hold on.
Yeah, I've had quite a few people ask me, like, oh, how do you do a podcast? I'm like, well, you find a guy with a studio, you get drunk at a brewery, and then 2 weeks later you have a podcast. It's great.
Yeah, exactly.
I've drunkenly made myself a lot of work.
Nah, man, kudos to you guys. It's one of the things where it was like, oh, I should make a podcast. Like, you should do a video, or you should do a YouTube something. It is just one of the things. You either do it or you don't.
You just have to hit the gas and go.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then you find yourself back at the same brewery and reading articles about this guy who started up a barbecue pit. And like, so how do I get the barbecue in Hudson if he's in Racine? Podcast.
Exactly. Cool. It all comes, just get out of your way. Right? It just works.
So where did you come up? Sorry to interrupt you. Where did you come up with the name Dragon Pit BBQ? I mean, did you bounce that ideas around with other people, or did you have that in mind going into it?
This is one of the things where I just had to stop overthinking it. And I was born in '76, Year of the Dragon. I'm a big Bruce Lee fan. Enter the Dragon's one of my favorite movies, and I was just kind of like, I think Game of Thrones was on. You're like the picture of the dragon in the pit and all the fires all around. I was like, oh yeah, Dragon Pit. I love dragons. If dragons are me, like, fuck it, Dragon Pit BBQ it is, and I just like went with it. Like, don't overthink it, just go, just let it go. Just say okay, and so, and and luckily it stuck. I mean, it's just. Like I said, I guess a lot of people like dragons. It's a good concept, but it just kind of just worked. That's it's as simple as that. Just said, hey, I like dragons, and a lot of people do too. So, and they like fire and smoke. So, right. I think about it like the scene where like the dragon like burnt the cattle. You know what I'm saying? The scene where like they just show the brain is like basically barbecue. I'm like, oh, somebody could eat that.
I'm not the only one that thought.
Why are people complaining? They made it better.
Perfect medium rare.
Whatever. So oh my God, someone's gonna be mad about that, I'm sure. It's like, but that was just one of the things. Like, it's barbecue, Dragon Pit, barbecue. Like fire. That's just what that makes sense. So
And prior to launching up your pop-up, did you ever do any barbecue competitions? I know there's a big one in Illinois. I don't know if it's like the national. I just saw that I went down a rabbit hole during COVID of all sorts of different documentaries, like Chef Show and Chef's Table now recently. But
that's a great one.
Of course, I start watching that and I get the Facebook ads like, oh, there's a barbecue competition in Illinois. Would you like to get tickets?
Oh yeah.
Yes, but no.
I haven't done any competitions yet. Basically, just because I haven't had a competition type smoker. Maybe next year I might do one or two, just for the heck of it. Because like I said, now I have a smoker, now I can do it. That was always one of those things too, where like, oh, what I would do if I had a smoker, if I had the time, or if I blah, 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 so now I'm like, okay, now I have the time, now I can do it, I don't necessarily think I'm not really a competitive person per se for, in any realm. I'm always like, I'm a Libra, so I'm always like real passive aggressive. Like, it's cool. I'm gonna even do it real hard. It's cool. Like I'm gonna be happy regardless if I win or lose. Like I just want to have fun. I'm just hanging out. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I never really been big on the music career either, because it's just so cutthroat per se. So yeah, I'm not. But I think it'd just be fun to do it and not think of it as a competitive situation where like I feel like I have to win or I'll be disappointed if I lose, or something like that. But I think just to embrace the community, it would be more or less why I would do it. A trophy or two on the rack would be nice. Of course, just definitely work on the sales. It can't hurt the sales for sure, but yeah, I'm not going to go in there and.
So is the barbecue world, like when we're talking about competitions and stuff, so we have a pretty heavy foot in the beer industry, and the beer industry, like there's a little bit of competition. It's more collaborative than competitive. Do you know, is the smoking world more like that, or is it more competitive?
I guess because we don't really have a lot of barbecue places here. So right now there's a lot, I talk to the guys, all the Iron Grate and Heaven's Table, and there's a couple popular barbecue places in Milwaukee. But I think right now just the whole culinary world is just kind of open, just to talk, we're just talking food. I'm sure if you're down in Chicago or like New York, where restaurants are literally on top of each other, it might be a little bit more competitive, But that's like I said, it is what you're into. Everything can be competitive if you wanted it to be. Yeah. Video games, you have assholes who are playing video games. Why are you mad? What I mean? Like, come on, So yeah, so I mean, of course, if your life's on the line, if barbecue pays your rent and pays your bills, yeah, you're going to be a lot more competitive about it.
Okay.
Well, and I'm a professional button poker, so I work for a big national company, and they fly us into Cleveland for training. But we have guys around the country, and we had a guy from Texas, a guy from Tennessee, and a guy from North Carolina. And I saw that, and I think they must have had shirts or were talking about barbecue and stuff like that. So I just started talking, and like, oh yeah, but I heard Texas is way better than Tennessee, and then just kept on stoking the flames between them and arguing. And now I have invites to go across country to go.
Oh, geez, I don't know about that one.
Have you had a tater tot casserole before?
Yes. Tater tot casserole, you can't go wrong.
Or hot dish, sorry.
Well, yeah.
That's that good Midwestern food.
It's like the gangs in New York up here if you say it the wrong way.
Yeah.
All you know is if you eat enough of it, you're going to stay warm all winter.
So for sure. People talk food like casserole. What are you talking about? Tater tots.
Well, what kind of smoker are you using? What model did you decide to go with versus that or building your own?
I got it's an offset smoker. I call it like a Frankenstein because they have like it's the barrel, and then it has like a rib box connected to the barrel and like another heat box connected to it. It's just on like a portable trailer. A lot of guys use them for mobile, like pop-ups and things like that because you could do so much with them. More like it is more for like catering and doing just random things. The guy that made it, he what is this? I can't think of his name now. But I happened to just find him on. I hate that I can't think of his name now. But I found him on Facebook. Just looking for smokers. Like I said, once I kind of had the money, I was like, okay, what do I need? I need a smoker. Let me find a smoker. The only places that were really selling them were in like Texas or Georgia, and you had to pay mileage for that. Or whatever. So someone, Googling, like, talking to different people, and a lot of people are like, yeah, I had my custom built, I drove to Atlanta and picked it up and drove it back, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to Atlanta to pick up a smoker, no, like that's ridiculous, because it just wouldn't be feasible, as far as money goes, because it's not really like a barbecue scene here, per se. you know, and so you kind of like, that's that fear, you know, again, we're like, let me talk myself out of not doing it, you know, and I came across this guy from the Ozarks, and he considered Springfield, Illinois a local drop-off. So I was like, oh, there's another one of those coincidences again, like, hey, I live in Springfield, I know exactly where Springfield is, you know, and I was kind of like, well, it's got to be the good, you know, got to be the guy to get out the way, you know. And it was a few grand, you know, it wasn't crazy expensive, and like it was big enough to do what I need, you know. So I just drove down there and picked it up, and like I said, now I'm a professional, you know. Like, I got the equipment now, you know. I guess.
You're like, ah, shit, I spent money in the wrong direction.
Yeah. It was probably like the most I've ever spent, you know, like on like one particular thing, you know, for a reason, you know, and like, you know, you talk to anybody, you talk to photographers, you know, like no matter what you get, it gets expensive. The toys are expensive, you know, so. That was a big deal. I was like, with Sobe was a guy. He was a good salesman. He was like, well, a lot of guys, what they do is they use them all summer and then they'll sell them. I was like, to me, I'm like, who would want to sell their pit? Like, you know, that's like a love thing, right? Like, doesn't one of the people love their pits? And he was like, well, a lot of people do it in those areas because now the smoker's seasoned. And I was like, oh, I can sell it seasoned. So then, like in my head, I was like, okay, at least if word comes to worst, I can sell it. And I still get my money back, you know, whatever. I get more money. So I'm like, okay, the cha-ching, all right, let's just do it. You know, like another reason why I just get the fuck out the way, Emerson, and just say yes. Just get out the way, just shut up.
What's the old adage that boys never grow up, their toys is actually getting more expensive?
Yes, exactly. Yes, I'm just playing with fire at the end of the day. Like, ooh, what happens when I put another log on here? Yes.
So what's been the reception like down, you know, from the locals in the Racine community, and have you gotten any feedback from your underground barbecue aficionados?
The feedback is really just phenomenal. Just very humbling. Where people just, you know, like yourself, you're like, hey, I saw this article. We're just kind of looking for some good news, and we just want to support. Like, we're happy you're doing this. We love, you know, like we love barbecue. You know, we're inspired by people who are just doing something right now, and that's just really been my motivating factor. That's really just been what's been pushing me to keep doing it, because it is an inspiring tale, I guess. You know, I'm building this story that is, you know, just, you know, spreading the love and then pushing people to do something else. You know, just like don't give up. You know, I'm 44. You know, I'm just starting a new business that, like, you know, like a restaurant business, like, you know, it's just for young people. Usually at my age, you know, you're looking to be like a head chef and retiring by now. You know, they're all like beat up or like, you know, they're all disgruntled. But I guess with me starting, you know, so late in my life, the cooking career is still new. I guess if I was like 18 and I'd been cooking my whole life, I'd definitely be burnt out by it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of one of those things. Like, you know, it's just, I guess, it's the right time. You know, sometimes the universe just puts things in place that, you know, you might want it, but you don't need it. So thank God, maybe like I said, I'm glad I didn't cook, because now it's still fresh to me. You know, I'm still hungry for it. You know, still every kitchen's a new learning experience. You know, I never walk into somewhere like, oh, I've seen this before, I've done this before, or something. You know, because like I said, it's still all new to me. And that's, like I said, the reception has just been great, man. And it's big up to Racine for sure, because they've been my back, my support. My friends have always been. What they support is like not growing up here, you know, not having a lot of family here. I've always relied on my friends, and, you know, just being, you know, taking pride in finding good people, you know, to surround yourself with. You know, I have a great support system. My friends are all super positive. And I'm lucky in that regard, because a lot of people, they don't have that, where, you know, they don't have people encouraging them to do stuff. And like I said, it's been great. You know, so I just want to push it back. And I want to be successful for the story. You know, it's not even about me, you know. So it's just about like, okay, here's a guy that did it, you know, and I want to be that guy for people, you know, because there's, you know, like I'm always inspired by people. I'm always inspired by underdogs, you know. You know, I'm a diehard Raider fan. You know, they're not the best team in the world, but like that, you know, I'm a big underdog guy, you know, and you know, so yeah, I just love the, you know, building the story of it, you know. It's like I said, it's inspiring me, you know, to inspire other people. I think that's, you know, what we all need to do, you know.
On the flip side of that, do you have guys that have been cooking or in kitchens since they're 18, they're burnt out and disgruntled, telling you, get out when you can, if you will? You're trying to...
Yeah. I mean, I've had guys, as a sous chef or whatever, being kind of a younger guy, less experience, when you come across those guys, they definitely would tell you, like, hey, I've been doing this for years and it sucks and blah, blah, blah. And I just flip it on, like, well, just find another job. Like, what are you doing here? Because it's the same thing the person told to me. Not sure, the same when I was at Starbucks, the same thing the person said to me, like, what are you doing here? Like, it's still, it's America, we still have our freedom, you didn't have to come here, like, you woke up today and decided to come in. You did not have to do that. You could find a job somewhere else doing something that you want to do. And most of these guys, unfortunately, they suck at what they do because they hate doing it. What I'm saying? They hate it, so they just they fuck something up. And that's when that conflict happens, because then their ego is feeding them versus just the reality of the situation. Like, bro, you're just not happy here. Like, find another job, bro. Like, do something. Like, you don't have to come in and cook. Like, I like cooking. I like doing this. I like it when it's busy. Like, every time you get a ticket in, you're crying and complaining about it. Like, that's your job. That's what you woke up and came to do. And, sometimes people don't get it, they storm out the kitchen. Like, 'cause I'm always like, well, you don't like this, fucking leave. They're always like, I will leave. I was like, well, fucking leave. You don't like it. You don't like it here. Bye. Leave. Get out of here. Find somebody else. Like, I don't need you. I want you. It's a different situation. Like, I like you as a person. I want you here on the line. But as a management, like, you don't have, I don't need you here. I don't need to put up with this bullshit just because you've been flipping steaks for 30 years. Like, go find some other shit to do, bro. Like, you're not dead yet. It's okay. And so yeah, I definitely had some conflicts, but for the most part, I think you just treat people like you want to be treated. And I've always tended to be a mature, even-keeled person. And I think that just kind of reflects when you meet people. Like I said, when I walk into a kitchen, I'm kind of like, hey, I'm your bitch. You just tell me what you need to do. I'll do it the way you want it done. Okay, if I feel there's a better way to do it, I'll vocalize it. And typically it's, like, I love minimizing things. I hate extra steps. So I'm like, show me how you want it done. I'm going to do my best to make it, faster and more efficient. But, I would definitely not try to, disrespect your teachings or whatever, that goes back to the whole, like, Bruce Lee and martial arts training. Every master is a student, and every student's a master, so if you kind of keep that mind state, people won't bother you, you just learning opportunities.
And I got 20 years this summer now in customer service and sales, and I see both sides of that coin, because there's a part of me that goes, I fucking hate doing this. Why am I doing this? At the same time, it's the only thing I know how to do, so I'm going to do it the best that I can.
Well, if every day was awesome, it wouldn't be work, right?
Right. So yeah, I'm getting into that, the more the textbook side of it now, like just dealing with the business side of it, and like just answering emails and phone calls and like figuring out the balances. And that's like, okay, that's now it's not the fun time, that's the stuff, the administrative stuff is what I'm trying to hammer down now.
Well, you got to have that so you can have that Saturday where you're just giving people delicious meat. And
yeah, exactly. So it's been nice. So weeks that I'm off, I'll get a chance to answer emails or do stuff like this or something like that, and just kind of figure out the logistics of what I need to do, and then that way, when it's time to cook, I could just cook.
Have you taken any classes or read books to try to navigate the business side of the house, or any mentors out there that have kind of helped you out?
I'm walking that path right now. I'm talking to people, different friends. We had a group meeting. Like I said, the support group. The friends we have are all talented people. And it was all we all kind of sat down today, like, let's kind of collect their ideas and our talents and see how we can help each other out. And so yeah, I've been looking at different, small business loans, things like that. But yeah, really I'm still just, like I said, just trying to catch into it. Right now, I'm just like, just selling, just buying and selling food at this point. But as far as creating the brand, and everything, yeah, I'm just, I have shirts and things like that. But yeah, just having that bigger picture, just trying to figure out where I want to take it, what are the next steps.
And how important, social media marketing is really the most efficient and easiest access to marketing for small business owners. How much of that has played in for you, doing pop-ups, of course, now it's, hey, going to be on this place at this time. Do you see a lot of people traction gaining from that, or do you see more of the people that came and had your food and then go and tell their friends and family about it?
It's still word of mouth is the best publicity. So even through social media, it's still basic word of mouth, where someone has something good, they'll share it, and someone else will share it, I have the Instagram, of course, hashtagging, there's, I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, he's all about that social media, hashtag, you need a million hashtags, more content, and it's like, he's pushing, like, yeah, he's right, because that's just really what it comes down to, it's just like, there are people making money just doing that, so you can't take it lightly, it's just, yeah, you got to wrap your head around it. I'm not making TikTok videos or anything yet, but I mean,
you should, because that's 90% of my TikTok feed is the guys that are cooking.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing, like, okay, we'll do like, is that the next phase of it? Like I said, just kind of wrapping my head around the business, like what is it I want to do? But yeah, definitely pushing social media, Instagram. Just feeding that Facebook, just feeding the Facebook all the time. You said just creating the content, just stepping aside and realizing it's a business. For so long I used like Facebook as a personal thing. So I don't want to blow up people's feeds with a bunch of random advertisements. So I had to get out of that mentality where like, oh no, this is my business now. Like this is my job. I need to be blowing up people's feeds with advertisements now. And for the most part, I think people are ready because they want to know what's going on, so I can't really think of it as like, oh, I'm annoying people, but no, they want to know, if I don't post it, they'll never know, so we kind of just like have to get it out there to the community, just have to think of it that way, like, okay, people want it, I need to let them know it's out here.
And so once people do come to your pop-up, what can we, when me and Casey make the road trip down, what are we going to be able to find on your menu typically?
Typically, I do ribs right now. I do Memphis-style ribs. We're talking about the different regions. I do baby backs, dry rib. I just started doing sauces because when I do at home, I'm cooking at home. I'm like, you don't need sauces. My ribs are perfect. It's a sauce. You don't need sauce. Just eat it. They're dry. They're perfect. It's meat. Eat it. Like same situation. You go to a steakhouse, you pay $100 for a steak and slather it with A1.
Oh no!
You're gonna eat the steak, and big ups to people I know people who love ketchup on their steaks. That's fine.
They're wrong.
You can't say that.
I can't.
I mean, they are, but you can't say
it. ROA's putting out their foot down.
Big up to Ashley who loves the ketchup on her steak. But no, but that's when you grow up, that's it's that same nostalgia thing. Like that's probably where she grew up at. As the people who can't afford to eat nice steaks all the time, so they get these shitty steaks and they have to put ketchup on it to try to feed your kids.
What my grandpa always said, he always did 2 beer steaks. It's a beer per side.
You just And that's how some people cook, right? Like, you realize, like, you're good at something, because some people, they're just throwing meat on a pan and just heating it up. They don't care. It's just sustenance to them. They don't, just like I said, they'll catch them out, throw ranch on it,
Yep.
Ranch on everything and the rest, You got shitty pizza, throw ranch on it. You got cheap oven fries, throw ranch on it. It's just great, Taco Bell, throw ranch on it. Who cares? I don't, but, so to each their own, so I try not to really judge too much on how people eat. So I have been making sauces now because that's how a lot of people understand barbecue. They don't even understand the taste of it. A lot of people, a lot of restaurants around here that sell ribs, they're boiled ribs with just barbecue sauce on them. And, a lot of your diners, are doing that. A lot of, that's what they do. They're selling ribs, and people are like, oh, these are the best ribs ever, and then they eat smoked ribs. I'm like, oh, what is this taste? Like, that's the smoke.
What is this delicious flavor in my mouth?
I have a friend of mine, he's a chef with me too. He helps me out, and he doesn't like a lot of smoke, so there's like there's certain barbecue places that use a lot of oak, because it's not smoky, but you still you kind of get a little hint of the smoke, but you're still just getting the texture because, whatever. Me growing up eating barbecue and smoke, like I'm immune to it, so I like it smokier. The smokier, the better for me, Same thing with my whiskeys, you know, like a good bourbon, you know, a good barrel, you know, even like a stout, like a bourbon barrel stout, or like a good, I don't know, like a good smoky bourbon. But you know, that was one thing I realized too, where like people, if they don't eat barbecue every day, you know, it becomes an acquired taste. You know, you just don't know. You know, if you've never been down south or you've never been to Memphis or something like that, you know, you just wouldn't know. You know, you just same thing with like spices. You know, like people who use spices every day, you know, they can tell you what type of chili it is, or you know. But then some people are like, "Oh, onions are spicy." Like, you know,
Get that spicy ketchup away from me.
Yeah, you know, like it's red. Is it spicy? Like, no, it's just paprika. You know, but you know that's but you never that, and that's like I said, it's just your culture. You know, if you gotta, you know, if you're got that Polish, German, Wisconsin, you kind of we have that Polish. They don't really do a lot of spices. You know, it's just. That's just not their thing, you know. It's not that they don't like them, but
I'm not so bad where ketchup is spicy, but everybody knows Buffalo Wild Wings. Honey barbecue is my limit there. Yeah, go past that, it's too much for me.
Yeah, it's a tires. You know, one day you're like, oh, I'm gonna step it up. You know, I'm gonna do some Cholula or something. Yeah, see, like go for the buffalo. Yes.
I like Southeast Asia spice because it's more flavor with a little bit of heat to carry it, but it's not like a ghost pepper, the Trinidad Morgul scorpion pepper, where it's just hot for the sake of being hot.
Yeah, that's when you get to the different regions where they know how to cook with those spices.
And what you layer them and
Right, yeah. You talk about Asian cooking, Latino cooking, Caribbean cooking. They know how to put these spices in there, and some are therapeutic. You need those spices because you deal with the hot weather, just whatever, just to flavor these tough meats. So like I said, it depends on your culture. You're not growing peppers in Northern Europe. That's just not, you're just not doing it. And just like a lot of places, in these third world countries, they're not eating a lot of meat because they just don't have it. A lot of vegetarians, like India and like Africa, there are a lot of vegetarians because there's just no meat. So the vegetarian concept isn't foreign to them. But spicy ass food, they eat spicy all day. But they might not be able to digest a whole filet mignon or something because their stomach can't do it. Like, oh, just meat. What is this? So different regions, people just do different things.
And I was going through your Facebook, and I noticed that you have gumbo on there, or full of it. I damn near got in my car and drove down that day.
Oh, yeah.
I went to New Orleans back in 2015 or 2016. I was a half step away from not coming home from vacation.
Yeah.
And I miss Southern food.
I think gumbo is one of those things, too, where my mom's from Louisiana, so, people are like, well, do you like Cajun food? And it's like, you kind of feel obligated, like, yes, I do, because my family's from Louisiana. Of course I like Cajun food. Like, what's considered Cajun food? You got your Cajun versus Creole, but it becomes this whole, like, rabbit hole of, like, asking different questions, and so cooking gumbo is, like, it's one of those things, like I said, it's just food for the soul, You go down, if you go down to New Orleans, it's a great city. I've only been once, so I was not disappointed. It was one of those cities that, like I said, it's exactly how they portray it. You go to certain places, like LA for one. So like every time you see LA in a movie, it's just like glamorous and gorgeous, and you go there, it's just like a grimy shithole.
LA sucks.
Where are the models? What's the sun moving out?
Why is that man pooping on the sidewalk?
Hollywood's the same. I mean, like I love California. I love how people are there, but it's just like the movies and portray different situations. But like and I was in the touristy areas of New Orleans, so I'm sure like people were like, yeah, it's the grimy side of New Orleans, but in the same sense, it was like the people were very genuine. The food was excellent.
I noticed the grimier the streets, the better the food got when we were down there.
Yeah, right, yeah, because they're older. Those buildings they've been there for years, and you think of all the turmoil and the hurricanes and things that have beat that city up, and of course those restaurants are
they're
still
seasoned.
Got to be good. Yeah, they're seasoned. Yeah, yes, they are. Yes, that's that fresh saltwater seasoning. But it hardens you. It builds you. It makes you a stronger person when you can meet those situations. So yeah, like I said, you go to some place and you're on this back road. You're like, I would never be on this road any other time. But I heard the fried chicken's good, but it's worth it, you know. Like, I might get, you know, the food does that to people, right? You're like, you know, like, you know, I'm gonna walk over to this homeless guy to get to this little shitty cafe, but there's this old guy that's been cooking the same burger for 20 years, and he knows exactly how to cook it, and the flat top's been seasoned with this particular meat, you know, they get from a local butcher, and they've been cooking for 20-some years, you know, and you know, it's only $4 because it's just a cheeseburger. You know? It's like the best thing in the world.
I ordered a bowl of seafood gumbo. So the bowl is probably if you take a soccer ball or a basketball, cut it in half, and that's your bowl. And I'm like, oh, cool, it's $10, and I'm thinking it's going to be like a cup. But no, here comes this giant full meal, and there's half a crab hanging out the side of it. And I'm like, is this the right thing? And she got all upset, like, oh my God, did we bring you the wrong food? I'm like, no, you're not charging enough. Right? I feel bad.
That's the beauty of that city, you know, because seafood, which is abundant down there, so it's cheap, you know, and then, you know, some of those cuts, like those, you know, the cheaper cuts when you know how to cook, you know, that's the best thing about soup, you know, you put these cheaper cuts of meat and let it boil down and cook, and also like this magic happens, or like it's just like I said, it just touches you, you know, and I don't know, like I love gumbo. Gumbo is probably my favorite things to cook, you know, because it's just something about a hot cup of soup, you know, for anybody, you know, when you have a bad day, you know, and it's cheap, you know, so you know, like I think I wrote a Bon Appetit article about like a soup kitchen in LA, and I can't think of the name, but that was their thing, like healthy soups for homeless people, because a lot of them have, you know, teeth problems or like gas or intake because they're not eating properly. But you can feed somebody a soup and trick them into getting all these vegetables and all this nourishment, and you know, it's probably the best meal in their life, you know. So that kind of like stuck with me, like when I started making my gumbo, like, oh, like this, you know, this is a hot meal. This is every ingredient that somebody needs right now, you know, like for whatever reason, you know, and you know, when you share with people, like, you know, people are actually coming to eat your food. They're spending money, you know, and they're spending money because they're looking for that nourishment. They're looking for that comfort, you know. And I think, you know, I had a case, this lady who was like, I saved my money all week to come get a sandwich, you know, and it was like a $10 sandwich, you know. But so in my head, I was like, it's only $10, you know. But then, like, that's just that stupidity and arrogance in me, where I'm like, not everybody's doing good, Emerson. Not everybody's, you know, an entrepreneur. Not everyone's just trying to find money. Like, she literally told me she saved her money. Like, how, you know, how strong you have to be to say that to somebody. You know, I hate asking for help, or at least saying to somebody, hey, you know, I struggle to get this, you know, and here's this lady, she's like, she's went out of her way to say, hey, I came here to eat your food. You know, that's the kind of shit that keeps me going.
Well, and how humbling is that statement?
Yeah, like, seriously, man, like, you know, it was one of the things, like, I didn't laugh it off, but I just said it, and I was like, all right, great, you know, customer service guy was like, okay, great, nice to see you, you know, you don't just, like, show too much emotion, because you don't want to, like,
that's one of those that hits you a few hours later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right, you know, you kind of like, damn, did she really just say that, you know, and, like, and you know, like I said, like, when I talk to people, it's hard for me to ask for help or ask her to say something, you know, like, about, you know, and I was like, damn, she actually, like, stopped me and said that to me, like, that was an important situation, you know, and people are coming out, you know, I say with the whole COVID and everybody having to pick up food, that really helped us out with the pop-up, because everyone was just picking up food, like, you had to go somewhere to pick up food, so, you know, she had $10, or she could have went anywhere to pick up food. You know, she had to eat somewhere, you know, and people were coming to get my food. And that's, you know, I might not have said that yet, but that was like one of the things too, when people were not eating my food. Where I've worked at restaurants, you know, you could be like, oh, the food there is great, you know, that food is good. And you don't really think of a person like, yeah, you know, yeah, I cooked that, you know, but it's not, you know, you don't really think of it as like your recipe or, you know, you per se. And so like now the first time with somebody, I was like, yeah, your food is good. And I was saying like, oh wow, it is my food. Right. You know, like, oh, thank you. You know, like, oh, it means something. You know, and it's like, you know, people really telling me that. You know, so it's just been, like I said, it's just been really humbling. You know, and
yeah, like you're saying with the restaurants. You know, people go there for the restaurant. I mean, I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 chefs in the world that people know by name and go to the restaurant because of that chef's name's attached.
Well, and usually it's on the name of the restaurant, like, well, not Emerald's, like,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, you know, like, Bobby Flay, you got these popular guys where you're like, oh, I know they're good chefs, I'm going there. But most restaurants, like we go in there, either, like I said, that the food is particularly good. You don't really hear like the chef or something like that. It's always like a restaurateur or an owner or something. But so I thought that was definitely, like I said, just a lot of great humbling experiences from the community. And you could, just realizing just on the ground floor of this, and just these pop-ups, we're right in the middle of it. It's like throwing house parties, you got your DJs who are like up in the upper echelon, you got your other guys who are grabbing at the house parties, just trying to just get people to move, and that's kind of like where we're at right now. We're just kind of, having a house party of food.
What's your game plan going up here? Being in Wisconsin, we're known for having pretty brutal winters. Do you plan on continuing the pop-up schedule through the winter months, or do you plan on doing any seasonal changes with the menu?
I will be doing more inside stuff. We're from Wisconsin, so I definitely can handle the cold. Like, barbecuing in the winter, it doesn't seem like that hard, bad of a deal, especially on that big, huge smoker, like I say, to build a bigger fire, just kind of go with it. I am looking into more like brick and mortar, maybe like an indoor smoker, where I could just like do more stuff inside. Because there's some great smokers too, like you do inside. A lot of guys have inside smokers. So, so right now, I'm just gonna probably switch into maybe some more seafood, more heavier dishes. Maybe like push more gumbos, do more. We'll figure it out. So the barbecue can go all year. People just love it. As long as you're making it. I can do it, and maybe do some more catering gigs. I don't necessarily want to have like a full-on restaurant per se, unless the right building or opportunity comes. Like I said, I'm not going to say no, but initially I would like to do more catering. I like going places and feeding people. I like going to parties and feeding families, or like whatever your celebration is. I like going where the party is. So that's how it's kind of like DJ mentality. Like, oh, you're having a party, I'm gonna show up. Let's do it. You're like, you need food, you got liquor and music, I'm there. Let's go. But yeah, so I want to be able to just kind of move around with that. So right now, just maybe get myself a building where I can do more pop, like, pick up, take out, maybe a few sit down, like a sit down place where people can just kind of come and go, not a full on restaurant. And then do just catering and travel, maybe do a couple competitions and just kind of get out there and see the world, do the things I haven't done quite yet,
Any thoughts or plans of buying and launching a full food truck?
Yeah, actually the food truck situation, that's probably the next thing I'm going to end up buying, because right now I can't cook out of my kitchen. We have a community kitchen, so we're just kind of rotating, which is okay for now. But yeah, having a food truck would be the next step, so that way I can actually go somewhere and cook on site.
Do a tour of Wisconsin and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I'll twist Casey's arm and have you cater the 2021 Blind Ninja Studios anniversary.
I mean, I'm not going to complain about that one.
Oh yeah, I got some friends up that way. People up there, So that's the thing too. Just realizing the little article that's for obvious. There's people everywhere that are like really reaching out to me. I don't really know. You never know who's really looking. When they talk about the whole social aspect of it, the social media aspect is, if you don't know who's looking. There's people everywhere listening. Like I said, I had people from Texas who were like, "Oh, we saw your article in there. We wanted to say thank you. I had an anonymous guy to send me some money. He was like, I just want to support and do your thing." And I'm like, this Texas, they have tons of barbecue places down there. But like, whatever this story is that it's touching people. And I want to recognize that, and I want to be able to share that love. I kind of want to just end it, and because I think we all need a little more inspiration, especially with the 2020 has just been a pain,
That's a word.
It's just been hard, yeah. It's just been a pain.
It was like just yesterday that it was, that fucking bitch Carol Baskins, and here we are.
Yeah.
7 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tide Pod Challenge was that last year or was that this year?
That was last year.
God.
It's Gordon, you're just getting old.
I know.
It's going so fast, right? But yeah, I mean, I think the 2020 did make a lot of people stop, and kind of just look at the world and look at where you are, look at situations. Like I said, I had some time to do a lot of self-reflecting. I think a lot of people did. I think a lot of people do a lot of soul searching. I think that's why we had, if anybody is on Facebook, there's a lot of Facebook wars because everybody's just passionate right now about everything. I feel like everyone's just having all these emotions they never felt before. Like, what is this pain? What is this longing for, like, acceptance, or like, I can't? What do you mean I can't do anything?
Can't leave my house.
Yeah. People have never been in a situation where they couldn't have something. That's our society where everything you want you can have, or. So 2020 was like, no, nobody's having shit.
You can't tell me no.
Yeah. And the people who, like I said, I'm pretty free flowing. I adapt to. I mean, I usually adapt to a lot of weird things. So if you're not that person, it's definitely harder for you.
Yeah.
If you're a person who needs everything to be by the book, you're constantly writing lists and you're on an agenda for everything. This is
not a good
year for you. Tough year for you. I mean, I'm trying to write lists for myself because I'm such a scattered brain. But I need.
Yeah, but they're more like guidelines than actual lists.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm not gonna hold myself back. Yeah, the bosses are gonna yell at me if I don't finish it. But
seems like the boss's problem.
It's there for instruction.
If folks like ourselves aren't lucky enough to be down in the Racine area, are you still selling any of your spices or rubs online?
Yeah, you go to dragonpitbbq.com. I have my Big M's Paradise powder, named after my pops, and it's a lot of ancho peppers. It's smoky. It's not salty or sweet. It's perfect balance right in between. My mom had high blood pressure, and my dad had diabetes, so I always want to make. And I work at the country club. I was working with a lot of people who had dietary issues. So as far as my rubs go, I wanted to make sure they're flavorful, they're balanced. I don't want to just be like salt heavy or sugar heavy. So that's what a lot of people they notice with the rub. They're like, it's really good, but it's not salty, or it's not sweet. Well, that's where your interpretation comes into play. Add a little salt to it if you want to. Add a little bit of this, but for the most part, it's just going to be a well balanced flavor. My other one is a limonita. It's I'd say it's a fancy lemon pepper, because I just love lemon pepper. Chicken, lemon pepper wings, and I felt like it was just too simple just having lemon and pepper. So it's more of a poultry seasoning and has 12 different herbs in it now, a bunch of garlic, a little lemongrass, and some pepper. Really, really good. It's really good on if you think like a shrimp scampi, like a garlic and herb kind of flavor. That's where you're gonna get with that. Those are my two primary flavors that you can use with anything. Then I have T-shirts, a bunch of swag, face masks and stuff like that. The logo's pretty cool. My friend Chris, great graphic designer, he's been a friend. He's been helping me out a long time, and did a great logo for me, for the dragon, so. Definitely go pick up some shirts. They look cool. They come on down to Racine and get some barbecue. Actually, he did his Wisconsin drip shirt.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, it's different, right? It's cool. He does a bunch of just different stuff.
Does it come in Shrek size though?
Huh?
Of course, nothing comes in Shrek size.
I know, that's the issue.
He'll help you out. He'll get you. You need it. He'll get you one. But yeah, so like I said, that's just that thing, just trying to utilize the people around you. Like I said, he's been doing stuff for a long time, and I was like, hey, just do my logo for me. I could have been somewhere else, but just trying to support local. Just look around your area, look within your community, because there's always somebody around doing something that you need. You just gotta ask for it.
Mm-hmm. And if folks want to look you up on social media, where can they find you, and where can they find your pop-up schedule?
They can find my pop-up schedule on Facebook under Dragon Pit BBQ. You can find me on Instagram. It's Dragon Pit with 2 T's, Dragon Pit BBQ on Instagram. You can find me under Chef E. Holla under Instagram. E. Holla is my DJ name. Last name's Holiday, so it's going to be E. Holla. So, but I think I might have changed it. Actually, I think I might have changed it to Chef E. Holla. But I'm on Instagram. Just look at Emerson Holiday. I'm sure you'll find it there. Like I said, I'm on. I don't really do Twitter too much, but I am on there. I don't do LinkedIn. I don't know. That people are always looking like, update your LinkedIn. I wish they were like, I don't know. That's too much.
The only time people update their LinkedIn is when they get this fucking email that says, update your LinkedIn.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, I guess I do got a cool job now. Maybe I should update it, yeah. So, I'm always on the Facebook and the Instagram. But Facebook's probably my main one because I'm just on there a lot,
For the listeners out there that are looking to go into the service industry as a chef, what kind of advice would you offer up to them?
I would say like anything, just make sure you love it. If you don't like cooking, if you're afraid to get cut, if you're afraid of the heat, you're not gonna like it. you're gonna have to do it your whole life. You have to do it 8 to 12 hours alone. Unless you're like at a corporate place where you have to be in and out, 4 to 8 hours, something like that. You're going to work 8 to 12 hours. You're putting in you're going to be on your feet all day. A wise thing the chef told me was like, you have to realize too, they don't do drug tests a lot of places. So you're going to be dealing with a lot of either addicts, recovering addicts, alcoholics, some of the people who are just misfits who just don't get along anywhere else. It's not like you see on TV where everyone's just happy-go-lucky, just throwing food around. There's a lot of edgy people. It's just kind of like the industry. I'm sure, like, if you're going to be a mechanic, they're probably the same way. Or, I don't know, like, some jobs just have an edge to them,
So you're saying Bourdain did not steer us wrong in that one?
Yes. Read Kitchen Confidential. Read Anthony Bourdain's book. That's a great book to read. Honestly, that's a great book to read. Daniel Boulard also has a book called Letter to a Chef, and it just kind of talks about just things that that you might encounter, just different things. But like I said, do what you love. If you can't handle it, just don't do it. Because if you come into my kitchen and I can tell right away, I'm just going to run you right out. I don't have time to, we don't have time to do it, especially on a busy day. Because you really have to have a lot of dexterity. Once those tickets start rolling in, if you're at a busy restaurant, if you're at a small bop shop, you're at a little bar somewhere, you're just doing like 10 or 10 people, go for it. It's cool. But if you want to, actually make a career out of it, get into some restaurants where you're actually serving people, it's a high-paced space. You gotta keep your cool. And like I said, a lot of people are just, they're in it because they like it, or they're just in it because they have to be. And so you gotta have tough skin. A lot of dirty jokes. A lot of vulgarity. Shit, fuck shit is my quote.
That is a shirt idea.
Shit, fuck shit. That's my thing. And that's one of the things you don't realize you say until people start mocking you. And I'm like, I'm definitely, I'm different. I'm a different person on the line. When you're on the line, like I'm just as mean as I am nice. I always tell people, but but as long as you're doing your job and I don't have to yell at you, you're fine. People say if Emerson yells at you, you probably did something wrong. Because I really hate conflict. You know what I mean? So I'm like I said, I'm kind of passive aggressive. I'm kind of like, okay, maybe next time do a little better. Okay, I do a little faster this time. After like 4th or 5th time telling you that, like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? You just get frustrated, when you work with people, and like I said, it's everything, when you work with people who don't want to do the job, it's just frustrating, and I attribute my mom to having that great work ethic. Like I said, she was working 2 jobs, supported me and my brother. I had a job when I was 15 and a half, I had a paper route, I've been working ever since, so but some people just don't want to put in the hours, and so you just have to put those hours in, give or take, no matter what you do, But yeah, if you go for it, just if you want to do it, just find a place. I say right now, COVID, it's gonna be hard to do it, but just start at home. Just see if you can handle making 10 dinners for somebody. Just taking orders. It's a bigger deal when you're cooking and serving, to random people versus just cooking for your family. I think a lot of people are like, I cook for my family and I can do it, and a lot of places they open a restaurant, and I think that's, I I work for people who just had no idea about the restaurant industry at all, but they're opening restaurants, you know, and that's just kind of one of the things that kind of leads you to want to do your own thing, you know, right? One great quote I always say to people too is, there's always somebody with less doing more, you know, so whatever you're complaining about, there's always somebody less doing more, you know, or, I'm sorry, somebody with less doing more, you know, basically, so let's just buck it up, figure it out, you know, and just get it done, you know, and that's that always kind of sticks with me, but every time I get into a situation where I'm complaining, I feel like, you know, the world's like giving me a fair shot. You know, like the poor me attitude kind of kicks in. It was like, you know, I start getting down the rabbit hole and I start seeing all these inspirational people who are like, oh, you know, this guy started this restaurant out of his house, or, you know, this guy's, you know, like, fuck Paula Deen, I think, was started selling sandwiches out of the trunk of her car, you know, like, how you feel about Paula Deen, but it's like, you know, that's what happens, you know, if you had music Too Short, you know, he was selling mixtapes out of his trunk, Master P, you know, people, all these entrepreneurs who just, like, growing up in these cities that, you know, they had nothing, you know, and they made something out of themselves, so, you know, just really pushing it and just figure out what you like to do, you know, and just hone in on it, you know, and just tell yourself to shut up and don't say no.
One of my favorite quotes from a guy I follow, ultra marathon runner, but he has his big thing, and actually UW-Madison put on their wall at the you know, coming out of the tunnel for the football players. Nobody cares. Work harder. Yeah,
that's about it. Yeah, you know. And, you know, I'm sure with the whole, like, you know, the movement for, you know, mental health and things like that, that's, you know, it's hard to tell people that shit, you know, but that's literally the world was. Like, you make it happen. You have to do it, you know, like, you have to hit that switch in your head that says, I'm going to do it. Otherwise, we just don't, you know, and it sounds cliche, you know, of course, like, yeah, if you put your mind to it, you know, just put your mind to it, it'll happen, you know, but it's the realness, you know, it's just, you know, it's, I don't know, like the law of attraction, or, you know, it's a secret and all those weird books, you know, you kind of like, it's all so cookie cutter, but it's, right. You know, but yeah, whatever you want, you know, whatever you think about. I think Emerson, like Ralph Waldo Emerson has a quote like that, so whatever a man thinketh, so he be it, or something like that, you know, and, you know, that's, yeah. That's it. I do a lot of Ralph Waldo Emerson quotes, of course. My name is Emerson, so if you are still
I have his collective works at home.
Yeah, and, you know, and it's
I just have Where's Waldo.
Yeah.
It's the picture version.
Perfect. Comedy's all about timing, right? It's all about timing, man. It's good. So that's it. Comedy's hard too, man. You know, I know people who are comedians, you know, and it's hard as shit. You know, you respect guys like Dave Chappelle who are like, it's a real craft, you know, and that's the thing. You like making people laugh. There's somebody making money doing it. You know, you like being a smart ass. You like being a button pusher. You know, like the podcast is perfect for you.
Oh yeah.
You know, like that's, you know, feed the need. You know, like whatever, you know.
So I normally sit right now tonight. I'm next to Casey. Normally I'm the opposite side of him, so he can't throw anything because all the microphones are in the way.
Yeah. You do it for that. He's over taking notes like, I'm gonna give it back for that.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned Gary Vee. I remember he, you know, if you ever have a business idea and somebody says it's stupid, just remember somebody invented the pool noodle. Yeah, I think the pool noodle copyright sold for damn near $2 million. You know, that guy's laughing all the way to the bank for that one.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, you know, it's just like I said, there's somebody making money doing it, man. And you know, like I said, today's day and age, everyone having to stop and start over. Like, now's the time to do it. You know, there's. You know, everyone's mad at, like, you know, Zuckerberg and all these people who made millions of, you know, billions of dollars, you know, during COVID. But it's like, that's how business works, you know. Like any financial person will tell you whenever there's like a depression or whenever there's like a drought or something, that's when you start plugging in. That's when you dig in harder, because then your money's going to bounce, you know. So that same mentality, like, don't, while everyone else is sleeping, keep working, you know. It's that sports mentality, you know. It's like, just keep working, you know. Like, people like Kobe Bryant and all those guys, it's all they do is grind, you know. And I'm like, so I'm not a big competition person, but if that, you know, I just, you know, I do push myself. I'm real competitive with myself, I guess, you know. But, you know, you guys have that dexterity. I don't know. It's hard. Just push it. You know, but I said, once you find something you love, then it's not really work, you know. It's just like you say, you're just doing it, you know. Like, you know, I don't mind putting in 12 hours in front of the smoker, you know, like watching it, you know, that some people do, you know, that's why you got those traders, those pellet grills, you know, if you were like, I can just set it and go, you know, like, hey. But, you know, I'm not knocking anybody for that, you know, they produce, you know, meat per se, you know, but you really can't do too much with it, but yeah, not everybody is going to sit there and like analyze smoke coming out of the smoker, you know, they don't have time for that shit, you know, so.
And one last question from folks on the internet. The overwhelming theme was, do you have any good Karen stories from your time in the kitchen?
Karen stories? Just in general? Like, just like restaurant stories in general?
If you got like that one that has stuck out to you over the years.
Yeah, you know what? Well, we work at a country club and everybody's a Karen. I mean, you know, we have guys who are just like, they would just send steaks back, you know, like, you literally have to go with the chart, you know, like, point to the color you want. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like, we're sending this guy ribeyes back day and night, you know, and it's like, oh, it's too, you know, but it really just came down to him just wanted to show off in front of his friends, you know, and it's like, you know, I don't know, I really haven't had any crazy, you know, customers, like, I don't know, you know, and Starbucks customers are pretty irate too, you know. There are crazy stories out there, but I'm pretty good at diffusing situations, you know, exactly. So it's like, you know, it's chemical kindness. I've heard people get coffee thrown at them, you know, I just heard, you know, I know, yeah, nothing from the barbecue community yet, you know, at least, like, I think that's kind of a good thing too, where, like, it's kind of people don't have too many expectations in this area, you know, like, so there's barbecue. If you're in Memphis, then yeah, you know, like say you're in it's like 2, you know, restaurants per block, you know, so you're like, oh, this one sucks, you know, I don't like this, or, you know, like, you know, the ribs, you know, I tend to have to make my ribs a little bit softer than I want to when, you know, selling to the general public, because, like, you know, if you're trying to make it like a competition style, I don't think people really like that. So I have had people like, oh, your ribs are tough, or, you know, they need this or they need that. This is a learning experience, you know. You know, luckily I haven't had anybody flip out or, like, you know, throw a bone at me yet, you know. Well, you know, it's always different, you know. It's the restaurant industry is crazy. Customers are crazy. I'll say that too.
Casey, any final thoughts?
No, I think we kind of hit everything.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Did I make an hour? Did that small talk?
Hour 40.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you again for
appreciate that.
taking the time to come down on the show tonight. Appreciate you carving out. I know you have a busy schedule. And thank you to everyone that's listening to the show. Without you, the show would not be possible. And many of you have asked, how can you help out? A couple things you can do. First off, head over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you can leave a review and drop me 5 stars. Hopefully you think it's worth it. And drop a comment on there. Secondly, tell your friends, families, coworkers about the show and convince them to check it out. Lastly, if you'd like to help me out, bring new episodes to you, head over to patreon.com/Rules of the Podcast. And I have a little tip jar set up there. It's just $1 a month. That's all I ask. If you'd like to keep in touch with the show for new episodes and guests, follow the show on Facebook and Instagram, both at Rules of the Arena Podcast. And keep an eye out. I have merch coming down, doing collaborations with J.E. Collins for photography. Hopefully releasing soon. We're just trying to hammer out a few things there. And all links are available in the Facebook and Instagram bio. Don't forget to follow the show on Twitch, where you can tune into the show and join the conversations live. Just head over to twitch.tv/Rules of the Arena. And don't worry if you missed out on the live stream, but you still want to check out the video broadcast, head over to the YouTube and just search for Rules of the Arena Podcast. If you want to get a hold of me directly for any comments, concerns, or would like to be a guest on the show, please shoot me an email to gordon@blindninjastudios.com. And last note of business, don't forget to go check out my other show called No Story Left Behind. You can find it on its own feed wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and you can also follow that show on Facebook and Instagram at No Story Left Behind Podcast. Thanks again, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Good.